Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. Just as we hello to Josh, Bruce, and Ian. Just as we were going to start talking, Josh said, "Say what you said, Josh. Say what you said."
Well, tariff land has unintended consequences in the drone industry when your motors, carbon fiber, FPVs, your batteries are all 100. What is it? 125, 104? What is that today?
I don't know. What day of the week is it? What time of day is it? It's who knows? Who actually knows?
Says double. My math says if you're paying 100 plus, doesn't matter if it's 100, 110. You're still your motor's just doubled.
Well, actually, the thing about motors is they're not exporting magnets, so you probably won't be able to get any motors.
Do you think they would pull that, saying it's already
done? China has said
they've done it. They've done it.
Yeah.
Really? They're saying
no motors for you.
Yeah. No, I know the motor. I know the motor effect, but I didn't realize that they would actually say the magnet. So they're now saying if my component is in your finished good, you can't even export that.
Don't know.
No,
but I mean, I would think it's a major part.
Like, are they going to say all critical minerals that are banned from export cannot also be included in any product that's export?
It doesn't really matter. Is anyone actually importing anything anymore from China while the tariffs are up and down? From what I've heard, most of at least in the hobby, all the importers have said, we're not going to order anything until this settles down and we know where we are.
Yeah, but if you're a commercial drone manufacturer who's been pushing how great they are, and they've got right now is a busy time for my world because we just got out of the ice age and we're now getting into spring flights. People need to get flights down right now because before all the leaves come up. So there's a big, right now we always notice an uptick, and then that goes until about June. It's pretty steadily growing, and then the summer kind of dies down a bit.
And then it's winter again, isn't it, up there?
Well, then some reason there's big purchasing in the fall. So there's timelines that you have to think of for government purchasing. So June 30th, you've got October 31st, you've got March 31st, all those quarters. There's year ends throughout. So you see these at this point, there's habits that we see.
Well, this week it's mandatory that any stream puts this image of the impact of tariff pricing from that lot to race day quads. Bardwell's had a video about it. Ian had a video about it, and Ian's was very much there ripping the ring out of it, and Bardwell's they're just getting ready for the next orders and the next big price increases. But it seems to be landing. See what I did there? Quite hard with a lot of American purchasers. What's your thoughts on this, Bruce? I wanted to ask you your thoughts on this particular bit.
It's very easy to blame companies that have got existing stock and have priced it up to say, oh, you're profiteering. But what they forget is if you've got $100,000 worth of product on the water and it arrives, suddenly you've got to find $145,000 to get it out of customs. So if you're a small business, the only place you can get that is from your customers. And the only way you can do that is put the prices up to cover the cost of the incoming stock. That's the way business works. It's quite common, even when you have oil price increases, quite often the pump price will go up almost the same day the crude price goes up, because to replace the petrol or the fuel you're buying, they've got to buy it at the higher price. And that works so long as when the prices drop, they reflect that immediately in the retail price as well. Even though they've paid more for it, they should lower the price immediately because the margin they're getting or the cost of replacing it is lower. That's where it sometimes falls apart, and greedy retailers just wait until the stock's depleted. But it's a common way to do business. You don't expect retailers to sell stock at a loss, which is what they'll be doing if they sell existing stock and have to replace it with stuff that costs 145% more. So there's going to be two twists to this. I see some retailers are selling old stock at old prices or existing stock at old prices. And then you've got people like RDQ who are already putting the tariff price on their existing stock. What'll happen is the customer can buy wherever they like. So the companies selling cheap will sell out really quickly, and RDQ will be the only ones with stock. But then the customers that have sold it really quickly probably won't have the capital to repurchase stock because it's now going to be so much more. So the short-term game is keep your prices low, but the long-term gain, if you want to stay in business, is start recovering your costs now.
There you go. That's everybody's video summed up in a few lines, and very, very well. Well done. No, that's amazing. I think
You just made retailers less evil.
Making retail less evil. Well,
no, I have 60 resellers. Like I even saw someone posting yesterday that the DJI website, the products weren't temporarily available. And then I went on the Canadian one and like they're available price. But that's.
I wonder what the price would look like if an American were to buy it in Canada and ship it in.
Unless you want to put a false HS code, you're going to get dinged either way.
You declare
but right now there are different Americans coming into Canada to get their DJI stuff. Now they're paying for it, I think, at the customs, but at least it's not getting stuck. Like I was told by one customer, they had 1,200 drones stuck at the border. 1,200. We're talking about
I'm working with the Chinese companies now. We've got this special brand called Made in New Zealand, which they'll be putting on all the stuff that they make and sending it to me, and I'll be selling it into the USA, where only 10% tariff supply.
Have you only got 10%?
Yeah, so there.
Yeah.
I'm just about to take over the world of drones, mate, with formerly Chinese-made products that now have Made in New Zealand on them.
And are you making those with that special soldering iron welding laser thing that you got?
Yes, I'll be using that because that's so good. It does everything. It inflates tires, makes coffee. A fantastic device.
Actually, you must make sure that you don't miss a trick. And while you're doing that, you need to be shipping some tree ferns to the UK. There's good markup on them as well.
Is there?
Ooh. Yes.
Some what? Sorry, some tree. What did you say?
Tree ferns. They sell
tree
about.
ferns.
It's about £40 a foot, and that's cheap at the cheap side.
They get stolen here relentlessly.
I'll send you an envelope full of spores. That's all you need. Just plant them, grow them up. Make a fortune.
They go in and steal out complete areas to end up in garden centres in the UK. It's a big plant theft problem with those sort of things here.
Cycads and tree ferns. Take them out.
You've got they're in all the. You see them in all the pictures in New Zealand as well. You must have you've got them there, haven't you, as well?
Yeah. They make fences out of them and everything. They just chop them down and chop the top and bottom off and make a fence out of the trunk of them. There's a fence just down the road made out of those.
You couldn't do those protected species here. Couldn't do that here. No, anyway, cool. I've managed to take. We're only 6 minutes in. We're talking about
completely off track.
I'll blame Ian for that one. Yeah.
What's recipe of the day? Anyway, what's their recipe of the day? Who's doing the cooking portion of the show?
Funny enough, I saw. No, I won't go down there. I won't go down the road of what I'm considering making. I'm surprised. Even if it was to say, right, it's all off, all back to normal tomorrow. Stuff getting on boats, stuff being tariffed, being held at borders, but it's going to take a long time for it to straighten itself out again. Should he just put a stop on it tomorrow?
You have to do something quickly, because look, they've got the de minimis thing is going off, so every package coming into the US will have to be held until the fee is paid. They don't have the logistics, the warehousing, the front end to cope with that. So there's no way that will go ahead, because how many small packages come into the USA every day? It just
no! Here's trouble. He's going to argue with other people now.
So that's the end of the stream for today. Thank you.
There we are. Then. Yes, right. I'm sorry if you could join us today. That's the hour over. How's it, Ian? Well, you managed to fish a major FPV channel name. Gone fishing.
What do you mean? Ian is a major FPV channel.
Oh, is he? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Bardwell's just trying to climb on his fame and get some extra clicks.
That's what I thought as well. That is what I thought.
I only saw it 5 minutes ago, so someone pointed it out to me. And I was
What's that behind your head? Are you supposed to have that
printer,
thing behind your head?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you can see that. That's a 3D printer on a table, yes.
Well, which one is that? I can't see which one it is.
The new Bamboo HD.
That is the new one, yes. Yeah. It came in a couple of days ago, so I'm just doing some testing.
Have you got the laser? Is that the what? Have you got the laser cutter on it? Or
no, I have only the 3D printer. The laser version, it wasn't available, but I also didn't particularly in itself interests me, especially up front. I actually think a lot's been glossed over on the printer because of the other stuff. It's a bit like, when you release something with like so much stuff, people find it hard to talk about at times because you have to gloss over everything. But it's been an interesting week, isn't it?
Yeah, it has. Well, Bruce has got the laser cutter for you. He'll sell it to you now. That's one of the things. It slices, it dices, laser welder, does everything. Do
you have your own laser cutter?
So I thought I'd pop in and say hello.
Well, it's good. Very nice to see you.
Do you have your own laser cutter?
No, I just saw it advertised on YouTube. $25, man, for a laser cutter, laser welder, and laser cleaner. It's fantastic.
Is that the ones in your hand, Bruce, where you could shine it in place?
Handheld. Yeah, it'll bring down airliners as well, I suspect.
We make laser cutters to cut fabric.
Oh yeah,
go and cut the material, and you got to build your own tables. You got to build all that, but yeah, they want to get a bigger laser. They told me today, and I was like, "Why? You want a bigger laser?"
Watch more YouTube. You'll see.
Sharks with lasers as well. Remember, you always need a shark with lasers because if you've got a laser, you've got to have a shark.
That's the big overhead, keeping the sharks watered and fed.
Yeah.
This is going really well tonight. it's going really, really, really well. Perfect. I don't mind it at all. So we kind of you've joined us, Ian, as we've kind of done the tariff thing, suggesting it's a bad idea, because I did suggest that it's actually mandatory this week. I'll put it up again because you're here, because it's also mandatory to have your name and this God, it takes a long time. This image has to appear on every stream this week. It's the law. It was sent to us by YouTube. We all have to do it. Yeah,
talking about the law, don't forget the Drone Pilot's Legal Handbook.
Very good. Yeah, no, it's a mess, isn't it? And it's going to take a long time to sort itself out. And I'm bewildered that people are thinking that because of this relaxing of some semiconductor-based products, flight controllers will get away with it as well. And I'm also amazed that people. I'm meant to not to rant away tonight, but this will make my last rant. People are saying it's all right, it'll bring back manufacturing and it's stopping all that slave labor in China. These things are made by robots on assembly lines in units of thousands and thousands and thousands. The only person in the loop is probably the person that licks a stamp, but that's probably also done by a robot.
But who builds the robots? Little Chinese ladies with their little hands.
No, but that'll be Americans, because they'll also be able to use tiny screwdrivers and do tiny screws.
This is what frustrates me a lot.
Someone's got to feed all those.
Getting is that because there was like auto industry guys, like union guys going, "Oh, we'll be bringing jobs back." I'm like, no. If the factories are built, there'll be robots, and and even and they're thinking like that's exactly what Elon's view of the future will be, that it will be robots doing stuff and doing more intricate stuff. So the actual stuff that I think plants will get built in America for, they probably won't be hiring them anyway.
I just Chris's comment, which is quite good, because Chris has just said, I bet DJI's finished stupid not moving its manufacturing to the US. Actually, I bet they're sitting here feeling smug and more than happy, because DJI basically control the world's drone technology, and it not being in the States is absolutely fine, because the simple reality is, if you want that type of product, you have to go to DJI. You don't have a choice. No one, Autel, no one has yet built products that even come remotely close. I was talking to a friend today about the new Mavic 4 Thermal and the other stuff and the stuff that's around the corner, and DJI it's not even funny how far ahead they are now. It's insane. So it doesn't matter, because at the end of the irony is, you could put probably a 500-600% tariff on DJI.
People still buy it.
You still buy it because you have to, because there isn't a choice. What's actually more important to DJI is retaining control of the product and the IP, not manufacturing it in the US. And the risk with manufacturing it in the US would have been losing that. DJI will be fine.
as Sparky, that's exactly why I put up the green ones are made in Malaysia. It's only a 24% tariff on Malaysia. So how will they deal with that one? So if it went to it, they could just so DJI have made the move cleverly already. It is already done.
I'll buy them, paint them green, and then export them from New Zealand, right? Yeah.
10%.
And DJI won't pay the tariff anyway. Take the enterprise products. DJI basically don't sell them direct. They all have to go through retailers. So the retailer is going to hit with the tariff in the US, which means that'll just go straight onto the customer. So if you think of a Mavic 3 or 4 thermal, if it goes up 30, 40%, still probably $3 or $4 grand cheaper than anything really comparable. DJI doesn't have to worry. And this is the big problem with
it goes up 140%.
If it goes up 140%, it doesn't matter, Bruce. Yeah. It's still, the truth is they own the market. And from a drone perspective, flight controllers really, if a flight controller goes up 100%, 150%, $40 to $80, that affects people who don't have the money. But most people, you'll just pay more. The real problem is everything else, motors, all of the core stuff. And there's an obsession, China doesn't, everyone actually has benefited from the cheap stuff, yet is now complaining about it. There is some irony in this that everyone's like, oh, yes, all this cheap stuff is terrible, yet everyone's bought it. And everyone's been happy to fund it. And like laptops made me laugh because they had the ban on laptops, and then suddenly that had to, suddenly very quickly, use everyone laptops. Realized everyone uses a laptop. Not one is really made in the US. The entire there is some stupidity in this, that the entire IT industry, the computer industry, is largely owned by American companies. Intel, an American business. AMD, an American business. Nvidia, an American business. The core IP is owned by big American companies, but no one manufactures in the States. And even Intel, who has tried to bring fabs back, have failed, or the cost has absolutely sunk them. So, and even if you could fix this, it's 10 years. It's going to be at least 10 years before you can do it. I'm not, and what annoyed me, and one of the reasons I put the video out was this: I'm not at all convinced any of this will actually happen, and yet retailers have already put the prices in.
But do they have an option?
Yeah.
Because if they don't, they can't restock. And therefore, they go out of business.
But they can restock, Bruce. That's cash.
But if they don't lift the tariffs,
cash. Yeah. Like if you're a retailer, you're making 20% maybe.
Yeah,
I 100% agree. This is going to cost them money. What I find very unsavory is that if you take this HT0 goggles, $299 up to $450, and they haven't moved. They haven't even moved on the shelf. The dust that was there the day before is still there now. I could have even accepted on the day of the tariffs the price going up, but to do it now is hard to swallow. And I agree. What they were spending, if they had $10,000, that $10,000 will go less far because of the exchange rate, because of what this has caused. And it will also go less far because of the price of the product. But that's your problem as a retailer. I was in retail. People said to me, oh, you don't understand business. I ran businesses for 10 years. I understand business. What I understand is you can't rip your customers off. And if the price goes up, the price goes up, and they'll accept that. But certain bits of behavior are very, very nasty, and that's what we've seen.
Problem is, though, that the good thing is that we've got a choice. Some have done it, some haven't. So people can buy, they can shop with their wallets. So the thing that concerns me, and I said this earlier, is that those companies that are now selling their existing stock with existing margins on their existing buy price, when it comes time for them to restock, they'll be grossly undercapitalized. They won't be able to get new stock in. So then as a market, consumers are in a bind, because the shops that had the high prices, they'll still have stock. The shops that sold out won't be able to afford enough stock. So we'll have a shortage in the market, which in itself will drive the prices up even higher.
And I think the other thing I've seen is people saying, oh, the Chinese companies will never stand for it. Oh, they're going to lose all their customers, etc., etc., etc. And people seem to be completely forgetting that the FPV, the privateer FPV market, is a mere bagatelle these days. Yeah. It's 10 to 20,000 units a day going to Ukraine from each company. There's thousands and thousands of flight controllers going. Their money's coming. Their money's coming.
There's another factor no one's ever thought of either, was China is not a democracy. So in China, if people there were struggling, it's tough. They can't vote out the government.
Yeah.
In the US, they can. So if Trump finds,
but can they go? But can they though? But can they though?
Well, yeah. No, they used to be able. No, that's more of a historic reference.
Yeah, they used to be able to.
Anyone for Tea Party?
Yeah.
It's a mess. Things will go up. Genuinely, there is some thoughts of and something we're going to look into. Perhaps UK retailers will benefit for the US 10% tariff. That's much better than, China. If I was a UK retailer, I'd be sitting here right now going, okay, how do I fill that market? How do I fill that gap? And, if US retailers struggle, then others will fill the gap. And do I feel for them? Yeah, I've been there. World events affecting your business is not great, but it's world events, and some people will survive and some people won't. And I've been on both sides of that. I had a business that I had a very big contract on, and overnight the contract ceased to exist. You can't change that. You have to just deal with it at the time and move forward. And that's the position these guys are in today. And I find it very distasteful to see some of the stuff we've seen this early.
Josh won't have to worry because Canada is going to be part of America, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, apparently, right now I've been wasting 2 hours a day for like a month now dealing with this stuff. So welcome to our world. You can join us if you want. I'd recommend not. But apparently, we have the I don't know, whatever USMCA, or depending on the country you say. But we have an agreement where some stuff's exempt now, minus tariff, autos and aluminum, and this is like, I don't know, a lot of time wasted.
Yeah, well, you can't plan, can you? You can't plan with certainty.
You know what I can plan, because there's 7+ billion other people in the world, and America can wait.
I think this is crippling the global market. It's crippling the world's economy because no one's prepared to act. Because for example, if you did order stock of FPV products, they arrived, you paid your 145% duty, and then the next day Trump says, oh, we're cancelling the tariffs. How are you going to clear that without making a huge loss? There's no way you can. So that's why Race Day Quads and Get FPV, the same company, have stopped buying product until they know that the playing field is stabilized, because you could go for such a huge loss if you bought stuff in right now. And that's going to mean shortages in the market in the US. So that price they're charging $200 for a flight controller, they may get it because they may be the only people with stock. And that's not a silly move from a purely business perspective.
Well, I think that's where, like, for us, it's a little different because, like, we don't declare we're Canadian made, even though, like, I make my own parachutes. I bring my fabric in. I have seamstresses. We do our plastics in the States. We do our PCBs in Toronto. We do all our own assembly. So like the tariff piece on the export, I'm not worried about so much my cost base. I'm worried about my resellers, and like, how do they deal with when they have a contract for 10 Mavics and then they have 10 AVSS parachutes at 10%, you can probably pass it on. But if it was 25, it's like, what do they do? But now they have that was been my worry for the last month and a half, is like, how do we make sure that our customers aren't losing existing agreements, tenders? How much are we eating? And we were prepared to eat costs. But now it's like, with these drone resellers, it's like, what are they even going to do now with the contracts they have to some municipality that's buying 10 Mavics, and the Mavics just arrived today? Like, now they're even like, I feel bad for my resellers. Like, they're all small business owners. Most of them are under 20 people. They've been fighting for this since like 2014, 2015. And there's a couple big ones, but like, my fear is that like the resellers are going to get squeezed, and like, they're in tenders. Like, well, you're going to go to your client and say, by the way, it's more expensive now. Like, does that mean the deal just dies because the police department didn't budget for they can only get 5 now? And then their chief says, well, I was expecting every police car to have a drone, and this is how I rolled it out. Right now, I don't want to do this. Let's pause. And then they want to go do their homework and realize the Americans are 3 times the price. And I feel like all these delays, especially for the DJI dealers in America, like I said, I've heard some had 1,200 drones stuck at the border, and like, that's M300s, M30s, etc. It's like, everyone's just pausing. How long, like, as a business owner, how long can you pause for? If you're not making money, you're burning money, right? It's plus minuses every day. You come in, you got to make a couple bucks. And so, yeah, I'm worried about those guys bleeding out because of the unknown. Like, how long can you go to your bank and be like, hey, that $500,000 order? And like, I've talked to people that had 1.3 million tied up for a month or so. Like, I don't know how like, your customers are paying for that, but like, how long do they pay for that? And Yeah, there's a lot of risk there.
Yeah, and the problem is that the tariffs are applied on the product when it lands. So you may have ordered it when there were no tariffs. You've got all your finance in place to do that. It arrives and suddenly you've got, say, 100 grand's worth of stock sitting in customs, and you just don't have $145,000 to get it out. And every day it sits there, it's probably accumulating fees for storage and things, and they won't split they probably won't split the consignment. So you've got to get $145,000, or you are forfeiting your consignment, because eventually the fees will erode the value of it. I mean, it is. I don't understand how the American business community can stand for this kind of carry on, because there's no stability, there's no assurances. It's just a giant fiasco. I would not be in business in the US right now if I involved any amount of importing.
What's interesting is this, and the bit, I am very interested in what China does, because I was just reading Chris's comments. Is, do we think Trump's team are asking all the countries to nail down deals with China? That's assuming the US has anything for the rest to offer the rest of the world, and the problem right now is I don't think they have. Frankly, I was very much of the opinion, tariff every American product 1,000%, because it doesn't bother me. It doesn't matter. And I had a long chat with someone on my Discord about, America, it's not that we don't want to buy American products. There's nothing that America-based products have that we want or need. Take cars. American cars are wholly unsuitable for the European market. It's not just that we don't want the vehicles.
The steering wheel's on the wrong side.
They're just... But Americans, Ford car companies used to dominate Europe. Ford and Vauxhall, which was owned by GM, yet they faded away to the Germans. And the US can bargain with what? What is it? Because the US had two big things: security and stability, and both
post the Second World War
window. So now, the first thing everyone's sort of thinking now is the dollar needs to be dropped as the reserve currency, because no one wants to base their livelihood on this. I have friends I was talking to Saturday who've had to cancel their retirement as a result of this, because the effect this has had on their pension pot. And someone said to me online earlier, they were saying, oh yeah, but if you were going to take all your money out, it's not as simple as taking all your money out. When you have a pension in the UK, when you retire, you can take a lump free tax sum up to about 130 grand. Your pot is affected. If your pot's been reduced, you're reducing the amount of that you can take. I have friends who have shares in businesses that have to be sold when you retire. There are things that are affected by this. And I think the world has just woke up. America has suddenly stopped being the stable peacemaker it was, and the world has woke up to that. And I just don't know what Trump's got to offer. Frankly, I can see the world leaning towards China, because why wouldn't we? What has the US got to offer? And it's not about the people, it's about the behavior of the state. And what single thing right now, because they're not offering security, they're not offering stability. So perhaps we'd be better banking with China. And that's a crazy thing to say, but perhaps we would.
Hard not to agree.
Well, it is hard not to agree. I don't know. Well, none of us saw this coming, really. I mean, we all perhaps thought Trump was a madman, but none of us saw it going like this. And so quickly.
I'm tailing onto what you said, because if you look at the hobby, when I looked at that Tower Hobbies catalog, so much of that stuff was made in the USA, and now nothing is made in the USA. I don't know if Jubro's still in business, but they may be one of the remaining things. But we had craft radios and stuff that with USA was making all sorts of stuff, and a lot of the kits were made by the US companies. Now it's nothing. It's all been outsourced to China, and it's the same everywhere. Like TVs, toasters, all that sort of stuff used to be made proudly American. RCA and all those American companies, Heathkit. Not anymore. They're all gone. It's just China.
Chris just said no security is nonsense. He's threatened not to support NATO and the articles that are in place. That's the security out the window. It's gone. Once you do that,
it's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No, you can't make the threat that was made and then stand back and say, oh, yeah, but we might look after you. It was implicit before. It was a given based on the mutual history.
Part of the nuclear disarmament as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That Ukraine would be protected by the USA as part of that thing. And Trump's just, oh, well, that doesn't matter. It's only a contract. We signed that. We can break that. Who cares? You know,
And
with that sort of attitude, nobody does a deal with a country that does that sort of thing.
And if you can talk about Zelensky the way he has, and the way they've talked about,
but Zelensky started the war. Remember?
Pay your fair share, Chris. Chris, pay your fair share is a very right-wing American trope that's completely incorrect. I'm not going to go down the line of...
Has the US caught up on its payments to the United Nations yet? Because they were way behind on those.
My comment to the US on that is pull everything
Don't they
out.
owe money to France?
Pull everything out.
They do. They do.
Yeah. Pull it all. Take it all. We don't want it. Take it all. We don't want it.
I think personally, and I don't mean to wind you up, Chris, but I think US troops should be booted out of the UK right now. The air bases can go, the troops can go. They are a security risk.
What would the drones do then? There'd be nothing for the drones to hover over.
Well, true. Yeah, true.
Well, mine has come out as well that they don't even pay rent, so they're effectively rent-free in our UK bases.
It reminds me of people have the country and people have talked themselves into a position believing something that it's like having a lodger in your house and then he starts asking for rent from you because he's offering you comfort. He's there, he supports you, and he wants rent payments back. And
tell us about this lodger that you've had in your house, Ian. I want to know more about this.
He's got a friend. He had a friend that was stretching credibility. That's really a lodger.
Should pull back from everything and let the rest of the world get onto it. The US is no longer the global leading superpower, or, as was said, this is the leader of the free world. No.
Not free plus tariffs.
Have you told your prime minister that?
I wish they would have. I think
you're Welsh, right?
Yeah,
he's Welsh. Don't hold that against him. I mean,
there's no need to criticize him, Josh.
I feel like the Welsh and Canadians are more aligned with all this shit than the English, maybe. Even though we like the English, I like the English. You guys are good. We're good. I was a loyalist. I got kicked out in New York.
What can you do to a bully? Call their bluff. That's all you can do. That's the only thing you do.
A bully with nukes. Not so easy.
Yeah, but he's not going to but he's not in his right mind going to set him up. Let the US do.
Is he in his right mind?
Well,
you're making awfully big presumptions.
When was the last time the Americans had a president who was in the right mind, though?
Oh, but I think you can say that. You can say that of the whole world. I think we don't upset everybody.
I just feel over 75 is kind
of. And this isn't about the American people. This is about policy. And if the American people feel so hard done by the world, then pull back. Go sort yourselves out. Leave us to do our thing. You do your thing, because that's all we can say. Because if the US government is peddling this, we've been treated badly by everyone, then you can only let them do what they want to do and pull back, and we'll all get on with it. We did before. World War II was a breaking point, and we wouldn't have won it without the support of the US. But just remember who stood up.
We kept paid for it.
Russians. Whoa. Don't remember the Russians. They gave bodies. Americans gave weapons. The Russians gave bodies.
Yeah.
Who had millions of people to give up?
And we finished. The UK finished paying for it in the mid '80s as well. They didn't give the weapons. We bought the weapons. The UK bought the weapons, and that's why we got rid of the empire. But they've left me in the empire just because there's a few of us out and about. Yeah, where we are. Yeah, there's a few of us out and about.
The really concerning thing is, though, that while you've got financial stability, you tend to have political stability, and the world is a safer place. When things get to the point now where the economies are so upturned, it makes it more likely that there's going to be military outbreaks. And I mean, for example, China is now rattling its saber in regards to Taiwan very loudly, and some of the analysts are saying it could be as soon as next year when they decide to take military action. And the US basically saying, we're not here to protect everybody, despite having signed a treaty to provide Taiwan with defensive capabilities, that probably emboldens China to say, right, we're just going to take Taiwan, and we've got all the semiconductor stuff there, that sort of thing. So it's a worrying because it destabilizes the whole world. America may not be, the superpower it once was, but it's still a huge pivot in the way that the world works. And if it gets damaged, then we all suffer.
The irony is China's more stable than the US now. That's and they must be laughing.
Well, dictatorships are always more stable than democracies.
Yeah,
it's the nature of the beast.
But they must be, because they've played straight into their hands. They've played straight into their hands.
But anyway, getting us back on topic. If we did remove all the Americans out of the airbase,
is he new here, Gary?
There'd be no UFO sightings anymore, and the National Police Air Service won't be chasing imaginary drones, would they?
No.
Yeah.
Are we now blaming the Americans for Gatwick? Sorry, have I missed something?
Oh, no, you missed the UFO chap last week. UAP chap. And also if they went, we'd get rid of all those restrictions around their bases that instantly got put in at their behest, which was a pretty big. I can't think of the words, but it's bad news in UK sovereign airspace to have an overseas power creating no-fly zones. But I genuinely believe they're a security threat, and I know that the Five Eyes and Four Eyes now, pair of glasses, people aren't sharing with America as they were. That's known. That's already known. So they've already knocked themselves down. In that regard, Biden's the blame. But Biden wasn't so bad. And somebody mentioned Jimmy Carter. He's a big hero here. Made all sorts of
Peanut's big in South Africa.
No, Habitat for Habitat. He built some houses.
He built a lot of homes. Yeah, Habitat for Humanity.
That's it. Habitat for Humanity, and he actually came and did it. So he's a big hero down here. But anyway, let's move away from this.
As big as Meghan Markle, though. I mean, she's pretty big down there, isn't she?
Well,
she got a hug from Nelson Mandela or something, didn't she? I remember reading that.
Well, funny enough, her husband used to come and drink beer and stay in the house next door to where I lived, where this broadcast used to come from. But anyway, moving on swiftly.
Spunky just said, Rid will fix it. Rid fixes it.
Sparky's, yeah, he's right. You're so right.
Network Rid, though. Right. Has to be Network.
Network Rid.
Yeah. It has to be Network, Bruce. It's cellular Rid, because otherwise it just won't solve the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of this, how many people they're pushing Starlink around the world, aren't they? They want Starlink is rolling out everywhere, and Starlink's got an off switch. And guess which country will control that?
The US.
Oh yeah, well it happens here all the time, But anyway, let's just jump onto this. Let's just jump onto something different for now, because we're talking about safety. We're talking about security. Well, Josh, you wanted to talk about this. What's wrong with this as a parachute? I know what's wrong with it. It's not your product. That's what's wrong with it.
No, that's fine. I have competitors, 2 out of France, Dronavia, Flying Eye, got Drone Rescue out of Austria, a couple others, company Nippon out of Japan. We have competitors. That's fine. I build sometimes. I don't build parachutes for certain products. I'll tell them to go. And if I think somebody is building a good product, we'll recommend it. But for this one, what got me, so you're dealing with a publicly traded company. And can I take over the screen? Actually, can I
Plenty Americans. Sorry, Canadians. Can you take over? What do you mean?
He's going to draw a big picture of something over the top of it.
Am I allowed to?
I don't think you can. Yeah. If you want to drive, no worries. I don't mind. I don't mind being annexed.
Okay. So you can see my screen. It's still on your screen. You might need to stop.
Here we are. Yeah. Hang on. I'm trying to add it. All right. Have I really just stop that one and then add this one? Yes, I do. Yeah. Okay, people into people.
All right. There we go. What's my beef? So it's weird that I'm advertising competitor, same website. But what set me off was, no pun intended, was not about they're building a product that we also build. That's cool. It kind of looks like our product, to be honest, but you guys can figure that out. Go on our website. You can take a look. There's not much space, so whatever. But what bothered me was the bullshit. And the specific bullshit that I think these guys are on the NASDAQ. So you're not talking about some company that just showed up in smoke and mirror investor play. You're talking about a company that's been around for 10 years. They've spent more than $30 million in private capital. I think last year they lost a couple mil off $1 million of revenue. Don't know how they're on the NASDAQ, but that's not my world. But what my beef is that you have a declaration that they're fully compliant. So you as a consumer, and this is where I come from, my perspective is consumer protection, because the drone industry is really bad for it. Every DJI dealer's got a story about buying a non-DJI product and losing $100K or something. And, drone pilots experience stuff that doesn't work. So what pisses me off is they're fully compliant and they meet these regulations, but that's false. And because if you actually met the US regulations, cool, you'd go on the US rules, you go on their webpage and you go look for a declaration of compliance. Funny enough,
was it not there?
I don't see anything, and I can type in their name. There's nothing. Parachute, not pair zero. And you can see. And so when you actually do the work and you spend the money and you do the crashing and you do the crash test, dummy testing, you get on this list. And then your pilots know that I have a formally accepted compliance using a means of compliance. We have our own from the FAA. So when you're making the statement that you're already compliant, like put the 2 seconds in and saying working on compliance. Same thing with the European one. So those ones are kind of like we will do it ourselves. We'll, like right now on our website, if you jump over there, I'll show you what ours says.
I'm just reading that though. I'm reading that interestingly. If you read those words they've put on that.
Yeah, let's jump back.
Second. Let me just, so if you read the wording, it was, right, okay, so.
Oh, actually, this is funny. And this is why I'm showing. They threw in this now. I just refreshed. So that first link I had was from the morning. They've now thrown in, after I called them out, because I made a LinkedIn post saying, so they've now thrown in the language that they're not approved yet.
A question. Did you put this on archive.org first? Because you should have done.
I have a printed copy of it, yes.
Oh, printed copy don't count. Give me an archive.org.
But also, I was going to just use the word in meet standards doesn't say is
fully. It says fully.
It's a real play on word. Fully compliant with ATSN category. See, compliant doesn't mean fully. If you said something like fully registered, as an example, you'd go, okay, it should be there. But you could have something which is meets the spec but not tested, if you get my meaning, and it's all a play on words.
In the ASTM standard, it says to declare that you're compliant, you must meet all Section 5 and Section 6 requirements.
Is that a tested compliance, or is it just a declaration like remote?
You got to go. You got to deploy 49 times with the new standard in front of a third party,
and you got to apply all the evidence and everything.
Yeah, and everything's documented. So here's the original. So this is one I PDF'd it, right? You can see here, they don't call out that they haven't done it yet. And again, we're talking about a company on the NASDAQ advertising that they're compliant when they're not. And so if you're if you're a bot, which no one really cares about, but if you're an investor and you see they already have it in the first ones, and this is what you're relying on. Also, what's interesting is this is another news agency, but this is paid advertisement. They here too state that they have all the compliance. It complies with. So they're paying money to be on someone's website with false statements. And so for me, that's like, and they call it that they're
Gary would have done it for free.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And like, when we go over to our website, and we look at like, hey, I have no problem with someone saying I'm building a product, trying to drop demand, like business person wise, I get it. Like this is ours. We call out reserve today with shipment in Q2. We don't give a month. But this quarter. So like that's different. And like we call out the dates in which it'll be compliant. And so for me to be a publicly traded company, to say that you already have the compliance, imagine a med tech company saying they just had a breakthrough in determining stents on this innovation and it's proved by Health Canada. And it wasn't. The investors in the market would freak out over that, right? But the more annoying thing from my perspective is not just the bullshit language, whether they're playing with, wordsmithing or whatnot. The one that really pisses me off, because I know the process, is they now talk about using a airbag technology. They're called popcorn charges. You find them in all your cars. We use them in some of our products too. And they're tiny little things that weigh like 15 grams. But there's the amount of approvals So this is another one. So they have equipped with new advanced, and they're saying that they're using this. I don't know if their engineers didn't do the homework or they just don't have it yet. But if you actually did this, meted the compliance, and are going to ship in May, which is a month from now, you would be listed on this website in the US. So this is PHMSA. So in the US, imagine that. They actually list who has explosive approval and who doesn't. Mind-boggling, right? So this is our approval. I don't know if this is how this is going to pop out, but this approval is, I went last year, we went and lit a bunch of product on fire. And basically it's a validation that if the FedEx guy gets in an accident, no one transporting it is going to get hurt. We did under a product category that falls under multiple. So we have this approval. And so like the thing is I got it approved in August 1st. It takes 6 months to get approval. So now you've got a product that they're saying is already on the list and it's not. You're saying that you can ship, but you don't even have the proper designation. So if FedEx, DHL catch you with a class 1 explosive and you're not declaring it, so we turned ours into a class 9, which means we can ship it. I can bring it on a plane. I've carried them to Europe, to the States, across Canada. It's fine, but like go do the work. Don't give me the bullshit. And like here's another example of Zipline. Like you go through this process, it takes time. Like they've had a few, they've either withdrawn or they've been denied. So like this isn't like home run territory on your test, and like they got approval, but there was a bunch of conditions on like they didn't even really pass the test apparently on all the nuances. So for me, what pisses me off in the market is like these guys have been around for 10 years. Who cares how their businesses run and if they're profitable and all that, but it's like you now have commercial pilots planning and they're planning to purchase these systems, and then they're either going to have an illegal explosive that they're going to bring on a plane. They're going to put FedEx, DHL at risk for not having the approvals. You've got all these like checks that like, fuck guys, like you're 10 years in, you're a safety company. Can you just follow the rules? Like, again, your competition's good.
I'm going to old man this, Josh. I'm sorry. It's business.
Isn't it cheating to bring facts into the argument?
I get it, but you're a safety. So like Takata CEOs are in jail because of their messing around with explosives. And I think as a safety company, like you're the last line of defense. These drones haven't been vetted by any third party. The parachute's there because there's no data, and the parachute's the backup for the regulator to feel safe. We all know DJI is great. We don't have to worry about that. But I'm saying like the intent of the rule is you don't want to go through type certification. That takes a decade, and every screw is traced and all that stuff. So you buy the parachute to get you to market faster because the drone doesn't need to be validated because it's got no single source of failure. So like to me, it's like if we're gonna play this game, and like I can talk about how much this costs. Like this, just to get on that list, it cost me, I think it was like 45,000. I had to light 20 grand of product just on fire, pay 15 grand just for the third party testing. Then I got to send my employee down. I got to do all this productivity stuff. So for me, it's when I see this, and then at the end of the day, the person that gets screwed is the pilot, because this happened in Canada last year, where on February 1st, 2024, over 200 pilots were removed from the list. And like, I'm just going to share my screen one more time just to show you the data. So like it's really like losing faith in the commercial drone market, regardless of all the lobbying and all the other crap. But like, imagine just spending $5 grand on a product, $2 grand on a product. You've got $100,000 job lined up over 2 weeks for, I don't know what you're doing, but you're doing something cool. And then you suddenly can't do that job because you don't have a product. Now it's different. You know, companies are late and all that stuff. Things get caught. But like to find out a company's like negligently just doing this, and they're publicly traded again. Like I just
allegedly doing it. Josh, allegedly doing it.
You know what? Sue me would be my message to them.
Sue Gary, he's got more money.
Oh, I got nothing.
He's the publisher.
Yeah, but like just to give a highlight of why I'm so fired up about this one, you can see my screen, my LinkedIn page.
There it is.
This is the results. So Transport Canada published this in at the conference in November. This was after a year of compliance inspections. They don't call them audits. They got rid of 110 declarations that affected 1,900 pilots. And these are small business owners, right? These are municipalities. These are people that are going out trying to fly over people. They're doing certain things. And like that, to me, this is the parachute in itself. So like the parachute market has a bad name of being full of shit, not working. And when you have companies that are are not fulfilling their honest obligation. To me, it's just like, and like, yeah, like I posted that on LinkedIn, and like they deleted my comment on their post, but they didn't delete my repost. And like I realize that I'm dealing with consequences, but I'm fine. Like I'm publishing data. I bring my receipts. So yeah, I'm disappointed. I think that's it. I think if my dad was mad at me, he'd say I'd be disappointed in you.
Never trust anyone that brings facts. Never trust anyone that brings facts to an argument.
Well, you can never trust them. So anyways, that was my rant on disappointment in the safety industry, where there are a few of us who are trying to do good, and we're trying to follow everything by the rules so that no one gets screwed. And then you're competing against, sometimes people just, and I get it for drones. People say their drone flies 40 minutes and it flies 30, maybe 15 minutes. But we're talking about explosives. That's the other thing that like I get audited every year. I right now have a large magazine out in my yard because I'm doing avalanche triggering. So like I have a level 2 compliance license, and like someone comes and counts my explosives. Like I go through all these things, and it's a huge cost center that like is cost doing business, but like you'd hope everyone would follow the same. And I'd like to know where they're getting the explosives from. Like if they're buying from an airbag manufacturer, that airbag manufacturer needs to do some better vetting, because like we were vetted pretty hard because we buy from the car companies. We go buy from the same guys who are selling Mercedes and whatnot. So I'm curious on who they're buying from and how they're importing, exporting without having these licenses.
Do you think you'll have as many recalls as the airbag manufacturers do?
Depends on if they go to cheap chemicals.
Yeah.
It's on
them. Go to cheap chemicals.
Speaking of parachutes and safety, did you see that guy that he couldn't have a ballistic chute fitted to his plane because the insurance company said it was too dangerous? But despite the fact the plane was designed for it, had mounting hooks and everything.
Like it was a Cessna, and it wanted to put a BRS.
Yeah. So the insurance company said, no, it's too dangerous. It's much safer to fall out of the sky.
BRS
there's sort of a World War I pilot discussion around that, isn't there, in the general aviation world? And that, they wouldn't give World War I pilots parachutes because they'll jump out at the merest whiff of trouble. and it's that sort of conversations coming around light aircraft, just pulling the chute at the merest whiff of trouble.
It's saved a few. Is that Cirrus? The Cirrus that have them built?
Cirrus, yeah.
A lot of those have been saved because of
490 or something lives.
Yeah, at the rate manned aviation's falling out of the sky at the moment, I think it should become mandatory, to be honest.
Oh,
Jesus, the numbers are terrible.
478 lives saved by BRS. They keep a tally on their
pretty
website.
Cool. That's pretty cool.
But it pales into some significance compared to the number of lives saved by remote ID on drones.
Yes, very true. Very, very true. Very true, very true, very true. No, time is going on. Willett Mod is here. If you haven't looked at his channel, look at his channel, look at his AI stuff. It's very intriguing. Very, very intriguing. I'm not sure I believe it. In fact, it's a pity Ian wasn't there, for that other Ian wasn't there to see it. Let's just quickly put these ones up where we are before that Canadian tries to take over the channel again. Just getting all jiggy with it. Friend of the channel, Chris Crockford, has he's going to a nice big fight. We do like a fight with a regulator, this time with the Civil Aviation Authority in the UK, and it's going to be very interesting. He's got a Regulation 6 review about their failure to renew his operational authorization, and if you're in the UK, should watch this one. That's going to be very, very, very interesting. Another interesting thing in the UK was sorry, go on. Go on.
With that one, so how did this one come about? Is this one where he's been critical of the CAA and then suddenly he's not seen as fit? Is it along those kind of lines?
It is along those kinds of lines, but before he was critical of the CAA, he was quite clever. He dissolved the company. And then he was critical. And then they said, after he dissolved the company, we want to see all your paperwork. And he said, what paperwork? That company doesn't exist anymore. And now they say he's not a fit and proper person. All those sort of things, the seemingly fairly standard things that the CAA comes out with. And I do happen to know that our and there's his advert on the right-hand side. Should you have any legal problems, I do happen to know that Richard is involved in this one and is helping him out on it.
The thing that gets me here is just the slight hypocrisy of the CAA asking someone else for documents and going,
yeah.
"Can you just provide them?" And it's like, yes.
Did you just give a big black page redacted? That would do it.
Exactly.
Well, yes, absolutely. Yeah, if you had to print them all out, you'd really destroy your printer, wouldn't you? You get rid of your black ink in no time at all with most.
And you know the CAA must be really screwing up, because when Sean is no longer supporting them, he's one of their biggest critics. You know, Geeksvana. I mean, they've got no support in the RPAS community anymore, have they?
Not really. I don't think so. And I think, of course, the danger is there are a lot of good people there, and it's not them. It's just like America, isn't it? Really, there's loads of fantastic Americans, and it's it's not all their fault. And it's the same with the CAA.
We should get Callum on again. Get Callum on. See if he'll come on. Give us the
I
inside
don't
view.
think so.
No.
So this well, I don't think he would. I don't think he's allowed to, because of course he started going on to Geeks, but that was also knocked on the head, wasn't it? But this is their test and evaluation people, and that's quite an interesting report. Not many drones in there, so that was interesting. And then the last newsy thing, I think, before we go into the Ian hour, was the government in the UK has started drawing out. I was particularly pleased with that bit of AIR generated, but has started a list, and they're checking it twice, and Autels already made it. So Autels already on the what do they call it? Debarment list. Paul Luen is probably going to come on next week and talk about it. He's the founder and CEO of Coptrz. So they've got an eye on it. And of course, they're selling those green ones. Funny you should mention it. So that's interesting. So potentially the UK is going to face some Chinese drone bans. So I don't know. Any thoughts on that before we move on to the Ian hour?
Is this going to be a ban where it will affect normal commercial operators? Because obviously they're going to be happy.
Everybody.
It's quite funny they're banning Autel, yet you can't really buy them in the UK.
Yeah.
Can you click on the link?
Yeah.
Is there?
Sorry, say again.
Yeah.
There's a link in here. Yeah.
Where?
Hang on, I'll put it here, and then everyone can have it. It's there. It's in the story. I'll make you click through the story to at least get a click today on the site. Other than my click.
Commercial ops won't be happy with that, because it's overkill. You can understand. Well, I mean, even like Philip Rouse will say, and obviously, strictly speaking, he's a competitor, but he'll say he shouldn't be banning DJI. He says, by all means.
Look, don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah,
I put it out there. I found the list.
Yeah.
And nobody, as ever, has happened with RID in America, because we've got to bring all things back around to RID. Nobody cares. Nobody's jumping up and down yet. Nobody's saying, "Hey, what? Hey."
They will if it got close and it came into if it happened. But it strikes me as, you say fair enough. If you're doing work with the military, if it's an MOD site, for example, yeah, all means don't have DJI, don't have height vision. But if it's even a police force, the day-to-day work, it genuinely does not matter. And if putting them onto inferior platforms does matter, that will affect their sort of day-to-day ability to react to situations.
But certain American companies are pushing into the UK and want to be successful in the UK now.
Yeah, but without having comparable platforms, which is the problem.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they lobby hard.
A drone is a drone. What's the difference?
A drone is a drone. Exactly. It's only 2 sticks and 4 motors. Oh, that got me angry. People laughing at the Russians for making stuff out of sticks and stuff. Just imagine how many flipping speed controllers, motors, and all the other stuff falling on the battlefield every day. If you can't knock something together with it, then
rich mining in those fields, won't there?
There will be rich mining in those fields. There exactly will. Right, now, here we go. Let's go on to the Ian hour. And I've stopped this one at this, Ian, because I won't be able to find it again. But this is, I'll go at the top. But this is Night Fighter, CUS effector jammer at Gatwick in 2018. Take it away, Mr. Hudson.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, because this one's been going on for a fair old while, and the DFT was pushed it back again, and often when that happens, you're just being spun out for time. But the nice thing with this is the only rejection I've had where I thought, well, at least they've spent the time, they've understood. There's reference to some of the arguments I've made, but it's also interesting if we go down to the so basically, I was saying we know that there was a jammer used. We know it was the Night Fighter jammer at Gatwick in 2018, and I know also that the MOD had said, don't be using it. Do not be using jammers. Do not be shooting your guns at stuff, which is obviously, with hindsight, we know it's very sensible anyway, because if they had been, they'd have been shooting at helicopters, and that wouldn't have turned out very well. But what had happened was things were in such disarray and in such panic that the Home Secretary, no doubt with arm twisting from the Home Office, overruled the MOD advice and basically got the jammer into the hands of the police. So I wanted to see the advice that was given by the CAA, which is an amusing thing in itself. That's now with the ICO. The CAA's argument was, I proved, in fact, here I'm discussing the same facts with the DFT, which the DFT accept, but the CAA wouldn't. The CAA couldn't open the DFT spreadsheet in their version of Excel, so wouldn't accept the information was in the public domain. So that's had to go to the ICO for a ruling, which it should never have had to. But in the meantime, the DFT entirely accept the entire situation that took place, which was that the Home Secretary overruled the MOD and put so this jammer could be deployed at Gatwick, and essentially there was someone has accepted the risk that it could have been collateral damage and harm done by the use of it. And I wanted to see the advice, because I would have imagined that the DFT and the CAA would have probably, you'd imagine would have probably given common sense advice and said, these are your risks in doing it. And it would have been the Home Office that was pushing the other way. And I just wanted to see that kind of detail, which they've refused. However, if you find the latest reply on this, Gary, and we can have a look, it's just it.
24th February.
So it'll be the very last response on here. It'll be that on there. So if we
this one,
up, yeah, that's it. So if you do download and open or whatever, yeah, that's it. So all the starts basically say, this is your question. This is having looked at it. They're applying national security as is the go-to exemption. It's terrible. It's saying basically, if we provide you with these documents, it will empower terrorists. Explosions everywhere, death, slaughter, mayhem. It's painting that kind of picture. And
there goes my £1,000,000 for tonight's cast. There we go.
It's just to scare the Information Commissioner. But we know it's all nonsense. But so you can keep on scrolling down to the bottom, because we don't need to go.
There it is. Yeah. Likely to aid hostile actor states who wish to cause harm to the United Kingdom. Da-da-da-da.
Because obviously China and Russia don't know about counter-drone technology. They've never heard of it. They don't know about RF.
Don't tell them.
It's complete fiction. But the interesting bit here is the summary at the end, because they didn't have to put this in, but it's acknowledging that my entire, my entire argument of the facts put together is correct. So they put on here, he's saying basically, on balance, as far as they're concerned, the public interest is withholding the information relating to the use of the Night Fighter effector. So they're admitting it, like I am correct, it's the Night Fighter effector. There's no dispute. They can't dispute it because the DFT accidentally leaked it out anyway. But he goes on. So they're saying national security means that the documents created in relation to the Home Secretary's decision to approve this against the advice of the MOD. So they're acknowledging the fact that this is really the pointing the finger. So they know that if this comes out from the ICO, they've already pointed the finger at the Home Office and saying it's the Home Office, it's the Home Secretary that's made the decision. It's not the DFT. So they're basically at the same time slightly getting themselves off the hook. And they may not even be on the hook if they publish the thing. They might be giving advice agreeing with the MOD. We don't know. But at this stage, it's been said, you're going to have to go to the ICO. But I did appreciate the fact that they've acknowledged the facts that I put forward, that they're correct. And it is what it is. So that's that one.
Should we have this one as well?
Yes, and I'm trying to remember what we are with this. Oh, this is Suffolk Constabulary. This was we mentioned last week. This is one of the funniest freedom of informations ever, because it was the simplest question ever, met with the most exemptions ever, and it's gone on to an additional level of comedy in the reply. So if you scroll down a little bit, Gary.
Oh, just looking at the right one.
Stop there. So this was just a refresher, because so basically all I said was, we know there was a call made to Suffolk Constabulary that they in turn then got the National Police Air Service to send out a helicopter. But all I said was the call from one of the air bases? If so, which one? Or was it for a member of the public? So I'm not asking for any minute detail. I'm not asking for anybody's name. I'm not asking for anybody's rank. I'm not asking, even for a timestamp or anything. I'm just saying, which one was it? It's just nice to establish just the flow, because part of the reason in establishing what has happened and where things began is that should be fair information to get, because that then helps you think, well, maybe I need to speak to that person on freedom of information. If it's a member of the public, there's no point you can pursuing freedom of information against them. You can do, but if it said it was a certain base, it might be, well, should I do a freedom of information to the United States Air Force and see if they, I don't think there's anything to be found out here from doing that, or will be replied to anyway. But just you should be able to trace information. That's just quite reasonable if you compared it against other freedom of informations. So if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, so they have drawn this out. So they pushed it all the way through, saying 20 days. That came and went. They just completely started blanking me, so they weren't even replying. So you have to go all the way to the bottom. Scrolly.
That was the one. There it is.
So, you just go a bit of this. This is my reply back to them. CB, we don't need to go through all that. It's huge, but I wanted to just deal with the really the whole matter there. That they need.
Was it the one above it? Is it?
Yeah,
this
yeah.
One?
I've forgotten. I'd already replied. I'm trying to be on the ball now because. Oh yeah, there's another story. So if you scroll up a little bit, there should be the links. There should be a document. There we go. Oh, you just gone too far. Down a little bit.
This one.
Attachment. That's it. Yeah.
This is a really nice portal.
Yeah, this is not an official government one. It's just a service that's provided by a charity, and they get the money from journalists paying to use it. So it's really handy. So
and there's lots and lots and lots of pages of reply.
Yeah. So
saying no.
Yeah. If you do a search for look for incidents or incident, because they refer to incident logs. The thing is, you see all this and you think, oh, look at all the time and that they've done. But this is almost certainly a copy and a copy. Yes, here we go. Leave it there. What they've done here is they're giving away what is almost certainly a copy and paste. So this doesn't look like it's even a reply to my freedom of information, because what they put here is, while not questioning the motives of the applicant, provided the redacted incident summaries would reveal intelligence value to criminals. Now, the irony here is I wasn't asking for that. So this has been written for somebody else's freedom of information. And they've just thought, oh, well, let's fob him off. We'll just copy and paste it in. So I've raised that. And it just proves they haven't done a proper balancing test with me, because they've not even given me a reply that's relevant. And obviously, as you see here, it's contradictory as well, because they have provided detailed incident logs to other people on freedom of information, and they've literally said there, here, we can't do that. And it's like, you've already done it. So you're effectively telling a provable lie already. And funny, as you were scrolling that, they've already got the word terrorist in. They're playing at it with every response. It's here whenever.
There's terrorist again there. That's above that there. Yeah, it's a popular word.
Yes,
it seems to get every single thing. No, it's quite a thing. Right, now let's get on to this next thing you got here, which is.
So this is just, I think, I don't know if you've already reached out to them.
Lux, I have, yeah. Lux, yeah.
He's left. He's retired.
That's Wayne reply.
Yeah. So you need to reach out to Assure themselves. But they've been tasked. We know Assure that they've been tasked to do drone testing in the past, drone impact testing, and so on. We know they're a sort of a trustworthy entity to be given projects around drones, and in the past, everything's been up for peer review. Now, given what went on in New Jersey and New York, where because of Fox News and the like going, there's invading drones in the skies above us the size of cars, that everyone was reporting normal aircraft. As a consequence of that, though, the US has finally realized that having all those drone guns actually isn't doing them any favors, and they're not aware of what's going on in the sky. So they've got. I don't know the full range of solutions they've got there, but if they're missing out on European stuff and that, they're not going to have a good.
It's very expensive to bring in now.
But what they're going to do is there's going to be 100 normal sort of off-the-shelf drones. I'm trying to think how you get 100, actually. There'll be loads of just pilot clones from China, but it must be to get that number. And then they're testing it with various counter-drone systems to see how effective they are. But what I was wondering is, are they going to be just as open as they were with the crash studies and put all that online? Or because what I think will happen is they'll find a lot of the stuff they're using at the moment, counter-drone systems just don't work. Are they actually going to allow that to go into the public domain, or is someone going to bury it and say, we've just got to hide all this because we don't want people knowing how crap all these systems are? I don't know.
I have a feeling the systems, if they were purchased, the data will come public. If they weren't purchased, aka the company's donated for the testing or trial, you probably won't hear it, because if I'm giving something for free, I might want to control that. If you buy it, I don't know, good luck. So there's a little bit of that. I think that the Assure study was published. DJI gave a bunch of Phantoms, and they actually regret it, apparently, because everyone just sees Phantoms crashing into stuff now. But a lot of that was done by universities, ASTM, FAA, parachute companies. Like, I've read the Assure studies, and like, we do that testing, so I'm familiar with it. And they ran into some problems where they didn't have enough drones because people didn't want to they didn't have a lot of budget. So it comes down to who's paying this bill. In my mind, who's paying for it?
I don't think the budget is so much a problem these days, because the last crash test they did was over $17 million.
And they still ran out of money. Don't forget, when you're dealing with the universities, that
wasn't a university. That was the Navy that took it, and the Navy didn't do as good a job as I think the university is kind of done with stuff for like turnaround and stuff.
Yeah, but if you just look at the universities and all the drones they tested, a lot of them are blocked out. Like, they had M200s, but they didn't continue with that testing. And the other problem with that Assure study, like the first version, they were flying the drones like by manual into the crash test. That's not reproducible. Like, we use a rail system so you can have consistency. So like, but again, I think the big picture is who's paying for it. If you're buying my system,
FAA is paying for it.
Yeah, and that's where. Is it public yet? Have they tweeted? Do they tweet?
They put public. The FAA's put the statement out and said Assure's doing it. I don't think Assure themselves. When I went to their website, they haven't done it. But they don't necessarily update that immediately. I don't think so.
Where in the states are they doing this? Do they have the exact address?
It may or something, isn't it? So
in that thing,
I've clicked it away now. Yeah, I've clicked it away.
If you look in the private chat, Josh, the link's there. It's the very last link.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I got a guy in Philly.
I think
I've got a guy.
He said this was New Jersey. It was being done in.
Yeah, New Jersey and Philly are like if you want to go gambling in Philadelphia, you go to Atlantic City, which is a couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, you like people drive to New Jersey to get gas pumped for them, and it's cheaper. Yeah, I'd be very curious what the exact So it's going to be, will take place at the Cape Ferry terminal. Okay, let me check. Someone's like, they're like, why isn't someone watching this? Like, this is like,
because you're not allowed to. Probably.
Oh, this is okay. It's between. Oh, it's way down south. Yeah, that's like.
Well, that's everywhere for you, isn't it?
Yeah. But like Philly's here, Atlantic City's here. You got to go south to the bay. Yeah, that'd be an interest. That, you know what? This is where you want to drone the box, sitting there observing, doing missions up and down. BB loss.
Oh, so where you want to test fly all sort of stuff that they don't know about, and see if you can get past it all, and then tell them afterwards. So the what was it? Was it the B2s? Yeah, it was the B2s that used to come through and say, "Did you see us?" No, and we could only assume if they put the wheels down, they got the reflective surfaces on in the wheelbase. But they would call us afterwards and say, "Did you see us?" Nah. But of course, they weren't asking the question, "Were you bothering to look?" Which they'd realised when I was at work, I wasn't bothering to look.
Can't see from the tea room, eh?
Exactly. That's precisely right. Right. So, what else have we seen this week before we go, boys? Because we're an hour and a quarter.
Well, our CAA lumped in eVTOL with drones and said how much it's a silly statement. It shows you how they're trying to shape a narrative. It's ridiculous. It's all about funding and crap. How drones and eVTOLs are so important now. eVTOLs aren't important. They're not.
That was the New Zealand CAA, wasn't it? Yeah. Just to clarify for anyone listening.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're going to look. Josh is already booking his ticket to go down there.
I'm actually flying to New Brunswick tomorrow.
Oh, well, there you go. Dear viewer, wherever you might be in the world, maybe next week things will have quietened down a little bit, but I doubt it. Look after yourselves. We'll see you all again at 2100 Gin and Tonic next week. Cheers for now. Look after yourselves out there, everybody.